So I feel like complete and utter ass. I've had a bit of a wild weekend. So I worked all day Saturday. I went out Saturday night, got a little bit drunk. Didn't really go to sleep because I stayed up to watch the McGregor-Mayweather fight. Then drove to Reading Festival on the Sunday. Drove back on the Sunday night, Monday morning. Got back home at 4 a.m. Monday, and then went to work again. And today's Tuesday, and I'm done. I'm spent. I feel like I've died at some point because I'm so tired that none of this feels real. I feel like somehow I've managed to slow down time. So, welcome. It is August 29th. This is Chatty Boy, episode number 7. And this is the nondescript... It's kind of a podcast, really, isn't it? Sort of nondescript podcast, video podcast, where I chat absolute shit. And I intend to chat absolute shit today. You've got my company for God knows how many minutes. And there is one major thing I need to talk about today. A major event that happened over the weekend. One that I did a video about last week. It was obviously Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. It went down. Shit went down. That fight was amazing. I loved it. I loved every bit of that fight. Mainly because I was fucking on the money. I was exactly right. Say almost right. But I was almost right in my predictions. I said that Conor needed to come out in the early rounds and put it on Floyd, which he did. The first 4 rounds of that fight, McGregor won. He put it on him, he boxed him up a little bit. He did well. He did really well. I also said that Conor needed to bend the rules of boxing towards MMA as much as he could, which he did. He did a lot of grappling on Floyd, which was quite jarring to see. At one point, McGregor ducked under and clinched him and looked like he was about to throw him down because Mayweather was unloading on him. I also said Mayweather would win, which he did. He stopped Conor in the 10th round by TKO. I did say it would go to decision, but it didn't. I think it would have done if the ref let the fight carry on. I did think the fight was stopped early. I immediately thought that was the case when the fight was stopped. Conor hadn't been knocked down in any previous rounds, and I thought the ref was very quick to jump in and stop the fight. I understand why he did it, to save McGregor from being hurt anymore. I would have rather have seen him get knocked down or get knocked out or go out on his shield. You know, I kind of feel a little cheated by the way that was stopped. I think it's because I know that in an MMA fight, like the way McGregor was reacting didn't exactly warrant a stoppage. In MMA, it wouldn't. He looked like that in the second Nate Diaz fight, rounds 3 and 4. Yeah, rounds 3 and 4. Like Conor was a bit tired, a bit fatigued in the Nate Diaz fight, and this was kind of the same. We were seeing the same thing. We were seeing him take some hits and get a little bit rocked, but not in danger. I don't think he would have won if it would have carried on. I think if he'd have made it out of the 11th, I think he would have made the full 12, and it would have gone to decision, and it would have gone Mayweather's way. Mayweather was just sublime, absolutely sublime. The performance of his career, absolutely astounding. Like the statement he made, getting that 50 wins and 0 losses as well, getting that perfect record was a good moment for Floyd. And also, I said last week that it wouldn't be so black and white. It would be a little bit more nuanced. McGregor would put up a fight. I said that people were counting out McGregor sooner than they probably should have done. And in that fight, McGregor proved that he could hang with one of the best, one of the greatest ever boxers of all time. He went 10 rounds, nearly 30 minutes, with one of the best boxers ever. And if the shoe was on the other foot, Mayweather in the UFC against McGregor, do you really think he'd last that long? I don't. He wouldn't even last half a round. So yeah, I was very pleased with that fight. I was glad I paid the £20, stayed up till 5 a.m, pissed drunk to watch it. I think it didn't quite live up to the hype. It didn't quite live up to the McGregor hype. But it lived up to the hopes of the fight fan. I would hope anyway. It did for me. I thought it was an interesting display of styles, especially McGregor's karate stance going into there and really using the clinch to try and bully Mayweather. You could see he was trying to do that, but it didn't quite pay off for him, and eventually, you know, the sweet science of boxing that Mayweather has perfected, it pulled McGregor apart. And I think McGregor's performance in there also earned the respect of MMA a little bit more, and of the UFC a little bit more, from both boxing fans and non-boxing fans alike, and non-fight fans alike, to be fair. The incredible thing about this fight is how much it just spread into the public consciousness. Even people I knew who don't follow fighting, don't follow MMA or boxing or any sport really, knew what this was and knew what it meant, which was very good for the sport, for both sports. And hopefully it will see a rise in the number of people interested in those sports, which means more and more conversations to be had about both mixed martial arts and boxing, which makes me a very, very happy boy. That's my brief breakdown of the Mayweather-McGregor fight. I could go further, but I won't bore you. Now, another thing that happened this week to me. I'm just chatting shit about me now. I started watching Rick and Morty. I kept seeing it on the front page of Netflix, and I kept hearing great things about it. I knew the new season had started and people were raving about it. And before I started watching it, I thought Rick and Morty was a kind of a kids program, more like Adventure Time than South Park or Archer in that animated TV show bracket. And boy, was I wrong. Rick and Morty is nothing like Adventure Time. It's nothing that I thought it was. It's actually quite an adult animation, and I am slowly falling down the rabbit hole of those adult geared like attempts at animation. I am obsessed with F is for Family. I've always loved South Park. Archer is fucking hilarious. And now I'm beginning to watch Rick and Morty and realising what an absolute gem of a show this is. So if you don't know what it is, Rick and Morty is basically a parody on Back to the Future. The two titular characters, Rick and Morty, are parodies of Marty McFly and Doc Brown. And the way each episode is geared is they go on these sci-fi adventures in a similar kind of way that they did in the Back to the Future films, where they'd end up on these wild rides through time. I also kind of get like a bit of a Doctor Hugh Stevens. I also get a little bit of a Doctor Who. I also get a bit of a Doctor Who vibe from it as well, where you kind of see Rick as Morty's grandpa being the Doctor and Morty being his companion, and these going on these wild adventures where they choose wherever to go. But it's got like those adult themes about it, where Rick is kind of this dysfunctional mad scientist who's always blind drunk and getting him and Morty into these weird situations that sometimes make a statement on the kind of current climate of things, like socially and culturally. There's a great episode I watched where they went to a planet full of female kind of these female aliens that destroyed men when they were born, claiming the female gender to be the superior one. And they were making like these kind of gently misogynistic jokes about it, whilst also threading this quite nuanced through line of kind of identity politics and kind of taking the piss out of it just a little bit in a similar kind of way that South Park does. It's kind of Cartoon Network's version of South Park, just toned down a little bit. And I'm really enjoying it. Could not recommend it more. If you're into that kind of thing. If you are essentially what I am, which is a giant child of a man who likes to watch cartoons. Don't you just love millennials? We are a bunch of utter wankers. So that's really been what my week has been all about. Watching Rick and Morty, thinking about Mayweather and McGregor, getting too drunk for my own well-being. I think that might be the problem, you know. I think I'm just having I accidentally drank 4 days in a row over the weekend, and it's coming down on me like a ton of bricks. That's why I feel like shit right now. But yeah, I will be talking about Reading Festival next week. I'll be talking about it with Hannah. I'm going to get Hannah back on the channel. We're going to chat about Reading Festival. Hopefully I'll get more views than I normally do, because for some reason, Hannah has the social media pulling power of one of Donald Trump's terrible tweets. Good news all around for me. Okay, that's it for me. Chatty Boy episode number 7. I hope it's number fucking 7, because if it isn't, then, well, we're fucked. It's done, that's it, we're finished. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening to me rant again about Mayweather and McGregor. I promise, next week there is going to be no sports talk. It'll just be me and Hannah talking about Reading Festival. Reading, woo! I can't get this fucker off. It's so... This is thicker than your typical festival band. It's a lot thicker, proving more problematic to get off. I don't want to cut it. I'm not savage. And if you are a fan of what I'm doing, or you think that it may have some potential to grow into something great, then please come and support me, like the videos, share the channel with your friends, share this video with your friends, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a chance for me to fuck up this outro, which I haven't done yet. And until next time, my friends, remember to always talc your balls. Always talc your balls. Dusty balls, trust me. You do not want a claggy sack.